Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool, we're in. Right, so let's try again.
All right.
You
Sorry,
were
folks.
waylaid with the kids and handover and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Um, Right, I've just waffled on for 10 minutes, so we may have the same people, we may have different people, I'm not sure, but I'll check the iPad to see that it's streaming properly,
Okay.
and yes, we're in. So anyone that's on the live, give us some likes, some hearts, some loves, and Heidi's a copywriter. If you don't know what that means, all will be revealed, but if you've got any questions, I'm sure we'll have time to go through them, but this is the Back to Your Future social experiment, and what that means,
Secret
I already
review.
explained in the previous, was I'm going to interview 20 entrepreneurs now and a bit about their backstory, where they've come from, whether they've always been entrepreneurial or whether it's a new thing for them, and what they're going to do each year for the next 5 years. So it's a really exciting concept, and I'm really excited for the future of a lot of different people, including yourself. So you live in Oregon and you're married
I
with
do.
one son, and you've
Yep.
been around the online marketing space a very long time. And you used to work for PlayStation, so you've done the whole employee thing. Now you've moved into self-employed entrepreneur. Tell us a bit
Right.
about your background.
Sure. I mean, I had a full 20-year career before I became an entrepreneur, and I think I would have transferred over sooner, except I didn't really see a clear way for me to work for myself. Because like when I worked for Sony PlayStation, I was a community manager, and that was a job I had for many years. That was like a career path. And typically they want that person in-house. You know, you're like the conduit between the customers and the rest of the company, or the voice of the brand. So they want that person close. So I'm like, well, I can't do this remotely. But then I kind of realized that there were transferable skills to just doing social media. So I started doing social media for a lot of different brands, first as a freelancer. And then I just started branching out on my own. And that led to me starting a digital agency, which was my first business in 2014, called Cypher Collective. And I ran that with my husband. And we kept it going for 5 years. But what's crazy to me now, thinking back, is I was not tapped into the entrepreneurial community at all whatsoever. I had no mentors. I had no support. I was just out there on my own. I didn't really know what I was doing, but we somehow kept managing to get clients. So, we were able to keep going for 5 years. And then the clients sort of dried up and we were burnt out anyway, and we'd had a kid and we needed something more stable. My husband decided to go back to doing massage, and I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I'd lost both my clients at the same time, and it kind of threw me into a little pit of despair for a while.
How long are we talking about now? What year was this?
So that was 2018. So I'm
Right.
kind of leading up to me becoming a copywriter, because that is where I ended up niching down and building a new business, which ended up being a great decision. And really the way I got there was through discovering ClickFunnels. I was on Facebook one day. I think I got served an ad. I like to joke that I probably triggered some sort of like depressed entrepreneur algorithm that made them serve the ad to me. And it was the Lady Boss webinar, and I watched it. And by the end, I had signed up for like 6 months of ClickFunnels. Never used it before. I'd heard of it, but didn't really know. And I was just like, this thing's amazing. And that said, it's not like I started making money from funnels right away. But what did happen is I discovered that there was a big network of entrepreneurs who needed help writing copy for their funnels. And I realized it was a big opportunity, and that was something I could do. And so I just went all in. And so that became my new business. And
Kind of 18, 19, something like that.
yeah, I mean, really, I would say January 2019 is when I really went full bore with it. I had been in a temporary contract position where I was still going to a job, and I knew that was ending in February. So I was like, okay, it's do or die time. And then also in February, I joined the OFA challenge. So I think those two things together really got me going on that path. So
Cool.
yeah, it worked out.
So for people that don't know what a copywriter is, then what is a copywriter, and how does one fall into that? Were you always interested in killer impactful writing as a kid and good grammar, or is this something new?
I wouldn't say I cared much about grammar, but I was educated on that, and I think I absorbed it. And So it was never hard for me. It was just, writing was always something that came easily to me. Even as a kid in elementary school, I'd write these stories for class, and I would always get, great feedback. And so I kind of knew that this was this talent I had. And actually in college, I wanted to pursue journalism until I realized that I was going to be broke my whole life as a journalist. And maybe wasn't, and I also hated deadlines, so it really wasn't the greatest career path for me. But yeah, I've done a lot of writing in every job that I've had. And then in the early 2000s, around like 2004, I went to this advertising school and took copywriting classes. So I did have, 2 years of this. I had this intro to writing copy with the express purpose of making sales. And that's mostly what a copywriter does. It's not just regular writing. It's not just being creative. It's not stringing words together that sound good. There's an end result, which is to sell. And so it's kind of funny because I never imagined myself as a salesperson or thought that I would end up in that. But here I am.
Excellent. So what is the downside to what you working at home by yourself? Is it loneliness? Is it the kind of sporadic income? What is the life of an entrepreneur working from home all about?
Yeah, I don't really feel too lonely or isolated, probably because I'm talking to people all day long. I'm on Facebook. I have tons of internet friends, which would probably sound pathetic to anyone outside of this world, but like, they're legit relationships. I've met a lot of these people in person and consider them friends, and they've helped me build my business. They've turned into clients and referrals, and it's been a great thing. And then if I do want interaction, it's hard now because we're still in COVID, but I go to a co-working space. I work at cafes. I see friends. My husband also works from home most of the time when he's not doing massage, which he's not now, of course. So I don't feel like I'm super alone or lonely. If I was single, I think it'd probably be different. That would be lonelier. But it's just a much better situation for me than being in an office, because I get bored very quickly. I lose my enthusiasm for the job. I become a not great employee. I get very into relationships with my coworkers, meaning like I probably spend more time building those friendships than I do like managing up and creating a good relationship with my boss, because I don't like authority. So
as most entrepreneurs don't, and business owners.
Yeah, it's like we got to be our own bosses. It's just the only way this works. So you asked me another thing.
Yeah, has the final part of the question was going to be around, you mentioned coronavirus. Has that changed your business? Has that really affected people buying your services?
It did at first. I think people were afraid to spend money because no one was sure what their financial situation was going to look like. And I feel like once people felt more secure about it, they started spending money. And I was also just lucky to get in touch with people who were high ticket entrepreneurs and influencers, where money was not a problem because they're bringing in 20, 30K a month. So it's not a big deal to spend a couple grand on copy. So luckily that happened. But yeah, I was worried in March. I had 1 week where I made $100, another week where I made $50. And I kind of realized at that point, my business is not recession proof. And so, I don't really have an ongoing offer that people can just buy anytime. I do have offer copy remix, but that's still something that I have to deliver. I don't really have a course right now. I want to create one. And I am about to launch more of a coaching model where it's like a monthly subscription. People could get access to me to go over their copy with them. So it's kind of like a done with you service. Right. So they can just book a call with me and we can go over any copy they want, get it polished, ready to go in like 60 minutes. And I would naturally be kind of teaching my process as we go. So helping them become better copywriters themselves.
Nice.
So yeah, I realized I need to have something like that going so that it's more predictable income in case of things like coronavirus.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things that you would hope never comes around again, but you just can't account for these things. And the world's in turmoil at the moment, not just because of coronavirus, the stock markets, and countries' economies and things like that are just all over the place. So
yeah, it's a weird, scary time. And so I think a lot of people are having to pivot with their businesses and try to make them a bit more stable.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next question then, there are a lot of people in the online space now and a lot of entrepreneurs that are flashing watches, private jets, Lambos, houses, all of that kind of stuff. Is that what boils your blood in the entrepreneurial space, or is it other stuff? Because there's a lot of weird and wacky people out there online.
Yeah, well, what bothers me is an offshoot of that, and it's people who are doing those things and they're not delivering results, or they're just copying other people. I mean, we're sort of encouraged to do that in this world a little bit. Like, if you're 1 week ahead of somebody, you can still teach the person a week behind you something. You can just teach what you just learned, but the problem is that you're just rehashing and recycling other people's content and not really adding any value to it. Like, I don't know, I've been reading a lot of conversations online lately about this. People are starting to kind of expose charlatans more, which I think is good. I think the government is probably going to start regulating digital marketers more.
Yeah.
Which will be good too. But yeah, I mean, I hate it, especially when people sell themselves as a coach because they maybe made some good money in their own business, but they've had zero training as a coach. I mean, it's really a special skill that comes with a lot of responsibility, and most people don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
They get a big ego because they're getting a lot of people telling them how wonderful they are, but then they sell themselves as a coach and can't actually help anybody. Like, I was unfortunately taken in by somebody like this year. It was someone I'd been friends with for a year. I'd been talking to a lot. He was constantly, people were the same thing. Like, people were always telling him how awesome he was. He made a lot of affiliate sales, but he'd never actually launched anything high ticket himself. And then he put out this coaching program all about helping people launch a high ticket offer. So until he launched that, which was high ticket, he had never done it before. There's a whole group of people now doing this that he's affiliated with. So it's kind of like, I don't think that is legit. And that definitely
not mentioning any names.
My blood. I'm not going to go there. I think people will be revealed soon enough. A lot of people have the same feeling I do. So I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so the next question, we're going to mix it up with some fun questions as well as business questions. But if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Would you like to see into the future? Would you like to read people's minds? Acute hearing that you can hear every conversation, or something different?
Man, that's a good question, because a lot of those skills would be amazing to have, or powers. But what if you couldn't turn it off? Like, what if you're telepathic but you couldn't block out conversations? But yeah, I think something around being able to read people's intent very clearly. I mean, I'm pretty intuitive and I can do that already, but I mean, I get fooled too. Like this coach I signed on with, I got some of my money refunded, but not all of it. But that's like a situation I would have preferred to avoid. And if I'd had that superpower, then, you could instantly see like who's legit and who's full of shit. So that would be, and it would only help me as a copywriter, right? Because a lot of what I do as a copywriter is try to enter the conversation that's already in people's heads and sort of try to read them and meet them where they're at. And if I really knew their thoughts, I mean, how much easier would that be?
Yeah,
and I would use it for good. I wouldn't use it for manipulation.
Yeah. That's the problem with a lot of people. They would use it for bad. So great answer. Yeah. Okay, so if your son was interested in becoming an entrepreneur or a copywriter, what advice would you give to him?
Oh man, I really hope he does become an entrepreneur. I think that would be awesome. And I think he already shows signs, like he's very inventive, but and rebellious. So that's probably me getting a taste of my own medicine. But yeah, I mean, I would tell him to like study hard, get a mentor, like educate himself on whatever it is he wants to go into. Like even me with being a copywriter, I just jumped in, but I think I had enough of a background in being a marketing writer and 2 years of copywriting classes that was okay for me to do. But normally I would tell somebody, research, go read all the books by the copywriting greats, take their courses, see what resonates with you. And I would tell people, sooner rather than later, come up with your own methodology, come up with your own unique kind of process that's only yours and copyright it and then like teach that to people, because you want to differentiate yourself, and you don't want to, I mean, it's a good way to avoid the whole problem of being accused of copying other people. You know,
Yeah,
other people
totally
might copy your methodology, but everybody's going to know where it came from.
Yeah. And this is the problem with a lot of people just rebadging stuff and rehashing stuff that's working for other people rather than creating their own stuff.
Right.
Wow. Yes. Great answer. Okay, so we talked about the people with the Lambos, the houses, the watches, and all of that kind of stuff. And the way that they portray it is that it's easy. You know, being an entrepreneur and making lots of money online is easy. Do you agree that it's really tough? And I mean, the alternative is obviously the 9 to 5 and a job. Would you still go down the road rather than going back into that 9 to 5?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
So would you remain in the entrepreneurial space rather than going back into that 9 to 5, even with
Absolutely,
all the challenges?
I would, because I've had the experience of starting a business and then having to go back to a job. So after I started the digital agency, there was almost a year where I was back in a job because I had my son and we had no like financial stability, and we needed that, and I needed health insurance. And it didn't work out very well. I had a really toxic boss. I actually helped get her fired, so I felt good about that. But like the amount of BS I had to put up with and just stress was not worth it. And at the end of the day, like, this might sound a little radical, but I think all jobs are a pyramid scheme. I mean, every job ever is just making usually one white dude at the top rich, and everybody else is just like scrapping by. And like, we're supposed to be happy with, you know, getting maybe a 3% raise every year, maybe a bonus. You're never going to get rich in a job working for somebody else. It's just not going to happen. So, you know, I understand like a lot of people like the stability. They like the routine. They like going to work. They like working with people. And I'm not trying to put anybody down who's chosen that path. But for me, it just doesn't make sense. And like, it does not fit with my personality. So, yeah, I would not ever want to go back.
The rebel, like you said, your son is following your footsteps with the rebel personality.
Yeah, that's very true. It kind of bites us in the ass, because our big thing with him is your job is to listen and follow the rules, but he doesn't want to listen and follow the rules. But if it's us, you know, that's a problem. We're like constantly battling this 4-year-old's will. And he needs to learn to follow rules to some extent, because, you know, he's going to go to school. He goes to preschool. He was in preschool before we had to pull him out from Corona. And that was like the biggest issue there, was that he did not want to listen and follow directions. So I'm kind of like, well, you got the personality characteristics you probably need to be an entrepreneur, but you know, we still need to
channel it.
Yeah, you got to channel it in a healthy way for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question is another fun question then. So if we were to ask your husband one annoying trait about you, could he pick one?
Sure. I could probably come up with a lot, but one that I know that annoys him is that I'm not very organized or consistent a lot of the time. So, you know, he's a lot more organized and ordered. And so if I don't kind of follow that, he can definitely get annoyed. But most of the time, I mean, I'm pretty good. I like order myself, but it's kind of like I like my own order.
Yeah.
You know, and he does things that annoy me in the house too. So it's all kind of like, you know.
Yeah. No, I love
50-50.
We're all different.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question then is, does being a great copywriter mean that you're a great marketer? And have you been challenged in your business where being a copywriter doesn't necessarily help what you're trying to achieve?
I don't think it automatically means you're a great marketer, but hopefully it at least means that you understand marketing and sales better than a lot of people, because you're constantly thinking from that viewpoint of like, how can I phrase this in a way that's going to connect with an audience and make them want to buy? How am I going to persuade people that this is a solution to their problem? And I don't ever take on jobs for things I don't believe in. Like I wouldn't want to be in a position where I had to convince somebody to buy something I didn't believe in or I didn't think was good for them. So it's not about that, hopefully. But I also think I'm lucky because I had a background as a digital marketer before I went into this. So I do know a lot about marketing, but that said, I can definitely be blocked about my own stuff.
So you've got the breadth of not just the copywriting, but the marketing side of it as well. What does making that copy good mean when you put it into marketing and advertising and then converting customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about being aligned with your messaging across the board. So, if you're coming from a certain approach or message in your funnel copy, then you need to repeat that and keep it aligned with your emails, your social posts, have the same voice, stress the kind of the same points over and over again. And not everybody understands that, I think, or knows how to do it. I'm not always the best at promoting my own stuff, like, believe it or not. I spend so much time working on other people's stuff and promoting them that like sometimes I forget to do my own as much as I should.
It's like whiteout, isn't it? You get a blurred vision with your own stuff. You can't step back as easily as when it's someone else's stuff, and you can red pen and critique somebody else's, but you can read the same words of your own and just not see glaring errors.
Absolutely. Or it's just not that compelling. Like I still struggle with writing my own copy for my sales funnels. And you would think that would be so easy because I'm so tuned in with it. I understand it inside and out, but it's still hard to kind of convey what's in your brain to somebody else.
Yeah,
I'm actually
absolutely
better at speaking in somebody else's voice sometimes. Like that's one of my skills as a copywriter, is that I can kind of get into somebody else's head and make the copy sound like them, just from sort of like talking to them and reading some of their other copy. It's not hard for me to match that.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a great skill to have. Okay, so the next question is that is there anything that you are really rubbish at, be that in your personal life or your business life? Something like, I don't know, maybe you can't dance, or is it something you're really crap at designing, or what is it? And what do you do if you are rubbish at it in business? Do you just outsource it or get someone else to do it? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm actually not a great business person. Like that's not really my strong suit. I'm a creative and I really identify with that. And that's the part I always want to skip over everything else and get to that. So that's why, like, I think it took me longer than most, or that it needed to even come up with like a value ladder for my business and really see how, like, what offers I should put out and what things should logically follow the next, because my brain doesn't necessarily think that way. I just I want to be inspired and then go create something. I don't want to like strategically, plan it out and then create, even though that's kind of what you need to do. So I'm getting better at it. I've become more strategic. That's what led me to want to work with coaches, is because I want somebody who's really strong on strategy and can like have a bird's eye view of my business and see things that I can't, and see opportunities. So I'm also not great at like more tech operations side. Like I hate Facebook ads. I don't want to do the retargeting part. That's boring to me. Anything that gets too technical. I mean, I'm pretty tech savvy. Like I grew up with the internet, and it came out when I was in college. So not to date myself, but I started working for internet companies right out of college. So it's not like I have a hard time understanding any of it. It's just more like, how deep do I want to go on things like automation and systems? It's not really my strong suit. But
that's the point, isn't it? As a business owner, you can't do it all, so you've got to outsource. And I've just realized this in the last kind of couple of years, where I was doing all of my own receipts, and then I was sending stuff off to the accountant, and then I got a bookkeeper friend of mine that said, wouldn't cost us much at all, and it was less than, I don't know, £75, and I was over the moon. It was like, get those receipts to them to do.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. The financial side too. I'm not great at that. I would so much rather hire someone to do my taxes, and, later if I end up making more money, like have more of a financial manager, like, cause I'm just rubbish at that.
Not great for a business person, but I'm sure
I know.
You'll be fine.
It's like, it's all good to make the money, but you also want to be good at keeping it, right? You don't want to squander it or do the wrong things or end up with some huge tax bill that you could have avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we're on the final question now, and this this social experiment is called the Back to Your Future social experiment, and we're going to look at, again, in 1 year time, 2 years time, 3, 4, 5 years time, where do you want to be? Do you want to be a big corporation with like a team of people, loads of people in a building somewhere, or are you just happy with like 4 or 5 people and keeping it relatively small? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, I could see myself with a small team. I mean, I definitely have plenty of work I could give to other people. It's just like I need to be at the point of consistent, predictable incomes to be assured that I could pay them. The last thing I want to do is bring somebody on and not be able to pay them, or be extra stressed out because I'm worried about somebody else's bills and not just my own. So, but I could see myself with a small team, like a year from now. More products, more things that I could just sell on repeat that aren't dependent on me to deliver. That would make me happy because, I'm still kind of in the mode of, I do client work. I'm the only person who can deliver the work, which can be a problem if I become overloaded, or like what happened to me after I went to FHL. I came back super sick. I wouldn't be surprised if I actually had coronavirus early.
Wow.
Because I had the flu, but then I had this cough and fever that lasted for a long time after that.
Oh no.
So I was pretty out of commission for like 3 weeks. I could barely work. I could barely think. It was awful. I had to refund a client. There were clients who were not happy with me because I was not getting the work done when I said I would.
Function properly.
Yeah, I couldn't function. And there was nobody but I still needed to make money. So I was really like in a tough spot. So I don't want to be in that situation again. Hence the monthly recurring subscription model, having things that I can sell, having a big enough audience that will buy what I sell. So I have a Facebook group now, but I wouldn't say that they buy everything I put out. I still have to market pretty hard to them.
Yeah,
so
social media is just about getting the attention and pushing people in the direction of your offers and creating value for them, isn't it? And then as and when they're ready, then they will hop on.
Yeah. And I would like to have a bigger audience. I mean, that's something that you have to work on consistently, showing up, making connections. I'm proud that I built a Facebook group of 700 people since I started my business. But, there's definitely people with much larger Facebook groups that have less of a problem making sales. So I definitely see the value there.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. And I'm really excited to see the progress in the next 5 years as well. And I did say to some of the other interviewees, if I can sell this to a news channel or a TV channel, then I don't think it's been done before anyway. So amazing concept. But no, thank you so much. And the final question is, where can people reach you online? What's the best place to find you?
Well, I'm definitely the most active on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, just search for my name. Probably the only Heidi Anspaugh on there. But I also have a Facebook group. So if people want to learn, I teach a lot about copywriting. I do a lot of live trainings. I bring in experts to talk about things I'm not as knowledgeable about. Like last week, I had somebody come in to talk about how to grow and monetize YouTube and TikTok. I've had people come in to talk about Facebook ads. So it's called Funnel Monetization Secrets. I might change the name, but probably not anytime really soon. But so my focus with how to monetize funnels and what I teach is through killer sales copy and building community, because I used to be a community manager before. So that's kind of like a natural offshoot of that skill. I do it through, Facebook groups. So like organic traffic. I've never spent any money on ads. So I run my business without paid ads. And so that's kind of one of the things that I teach in that group.
Nice. So Facebook is your primary platform then, and I'll put it the link in the show notes as well, so people can find you and connect if they want to. But really awesome. Thank you so much. And no worries about the 10-minute waffle that I had to do at the start. And yours is probably a lot more traumatic, running around after the kids.
Just running around trying to like find my computer and my cord and make sure I have everything I need. But yeah, I appreciate you doing this and like us still being able to connect today.
Thank you so much. I'll catch up really soon, Heidi.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.